And remember the first two episodes of Roots was Kenta Kunte said, my name is Kenta Kunte. They almost killed a brother. Finally said, Toby under his breath. But at least in the narrative of the story, when he got close to him, he said, in other words, I'll tell you what you want to hear. That's important to remember. I'll tell you what you want to hear, but that's not what I am. And as black men on the plantation, because we were not taught to have families, it is difficult for black men today to deal with families. I'm not talking about y'all in the church. Y'all overcome.
Preach.
But it was nothing strange for black men in the community to have 2 or 3 families, to have 2 or 3 households.
That's right.
And as that was because that's what it took to be a man. And then society added some things on top of it. Society said that you can't be in your house, because if you're in your house and you don't have a job, then we won't give you no food stamps. Well, I want my family to eat, so I'll move out around the corner, come back every other day, or come back. I had an uncle who would do this, literally. He would come back and visit my aunt every day. Every day. I didn't even know that he wasn't in the house for years. But he left the home because he could not get a job. And we tell people today, a real man does what? He works. Well, so wait a minute. So if you don't get a job, what happens to you? You're not a real man. Well, if that's true, and I go to school, and I get an education, I get a college degree, I get certifications, I'm willing to work hard, I'm willing to learn, and I go do that, and I can't get a job because of the color of my, then what am I? I'm not a real man. You see how society plays into what we have to deal with? And individuals don't recognize that as black men, we deal with all the problems that men deal with, but then we got our own unique issues. You know, it finally, you know, I would tell my son, I tried to protect him, I really did. I tried to protect the boy. I tried to tell him, son, you know, just do your best, always be ahead of the class, always, you know, because that's half your chance right there. Not your whole chance.
That's right.
But it's half your chance. And, you know, Dad, that's not the way the world is, you know, that's when you grew up, that's old time stuff. And, you know, I said, okay, son. But see, we grew up, as he grew up in the suburbs. He was the only chocolate person in his neighborhood. He out there ice skating on a pond talking about playing hockey. I was getting upset. I told my wife, we're going to have to move back to the ghetto. 'Cause, you know, a black boy that do no ice skating, we might do some roller skating. He out there on the pond with a hockey stick, you know. And it wasn't until just last year, 28 now, and he went to this job, and the lady started hassling him. He says, I haven't done anything. She says, well, I'm just telling you what you're not going to do. He says, okay. He said, now, you don't sleep on this job. He said, I know, I don't sleep on the job. Well, on your lunch hour, is that yours? He said, pretty much. Yeah. You're pretty much right. Your lunch hour is not totally yours. And he had to learn this because on his lunch hour, he just put his head down on the desk. Had an hour for lunch. He laid his head down for 15 minutes, and he got a warning. He called me, Dad, what's going on? I said, man, well, you don't put your head down at your desk. So if you're going to take a nap, go out to the lobby or someplace, but don't do that. You know, I'm trying to. Yeah. He said, all right. Next day, he goes out to the lobby. and lays his head down on the table. About 15, 20 minutes. Got written up again. Girl said, I told you don't sleep on the job. He said, I'm not on the job. I'm on my lunch hour.
Oh, yeah.
She said, well, I shouldn't see you. He said, call me Dad. I said, man, they ask you not to do that, just don't do it. He said, all right. So the next day, he goes out to his car. What do you think he did? Took a 15-minute nap, he didn't go sleep. Just put his head across the steering wheel. He's thinking, he's meditating. He got his third warning. Got fired.
Yeah, wow.
He called, he said, Daddy, what's going on? The guy, the white guy, he didn't even come back from lunch. And I asked, well, what are you going to do to him? Well, don't worry about him. He said, but I wasn't on the, she said, we told you you can't take a nap, you can't sleep on the job. He said, I wasn't on the job. You told me not to do it at my desk, I wasn't. You told me not to do it at the lobby, I didn't. I was in my car, yeah, but I walked by and saw you.
So,
and he finally woke up to the idea that there's a double, when there's a double standard, that's what kind of behavior? Hypocritical. And so we have to deal with not only hypocritical behavior on the outside, but we got to deal with hypocritical behavior on the inside. Because in church, can you be the real you?
No.
Why can't you be the real you in church?
People run.
Hmm?
People run.
People run, okay. Anyone else? Why can't you be the real you in church?
I think you can be the real you in church.
Concerned about being judged. Come back to that one in just a moment.
I think you can be the real you
You
in
think
church.
you can?
You'll stand alone, but the key to that is learning how to stand alone.
Okay. So you're suggesting if I be the real me, I have to stand alone. Now, I'm going to tell you, that wouldn't work for me, and I'll tell you why. I grew up an only child. Had no brothers and sisters. My cousins lived upstairs. We had a two-family flat. My cousins lived upstairs, and I could hear them playing with each other. And I had to play by myself.
That bothered you.
And when my mother and father did not have time to do things with me, I had to entertain myself. Because my father was the kind of thing, you're not getting on the streets. That's just out. Never was I on the streets. Until the day he died, I was not on the streets.
All right.
Okay? 73. Old man say something, you did it.
Yeah.